Hi there, this is Olga with Nex-Tech from the Business Technology Group. With everyone trying to move remotely as much as they can, we're here to help to get your business ready for that. So we put a list together with some tools, and I'm here today to share some of them to get your business ready, set, and get to remote. So some of the things that we're going to cover the most important pieces and aspects of your business communication. So your phones, your end user devices and applications, and then of course your network. So let's talk about your phones. For some of you that might have already some VoIP solutions in place, this is actually some good news because all of your features, you should already have them. So if you have a soft phone or a cloud phone from Nex-Tech or a different provider or something similar, go and call your provider and get in touch with them, because most of them actually already have some cool features that allow you to take your business phone into your pocket to either your smartphone or your laptop and use it just as like if you were sitting in front of your desk. So you can transfer calls, you can forward calls, you can manage your voicemail, and you can even make calls that look like if you're calling from your business line. We actually have a list of how to do that with your Nex-Tech cloud phone. We'll share the link below, so make sure to check that out. So if you don't have a cloud phone system, don't fret, there's still a lot of good options out there. If you have a traditional telephone system like an Avaya or Toshiba or a Mitel, you actually have a lot of the similar options and features available. You might just need to add some licenses or get some other resources provisioned and installed and configured. So again, call your phone provider and just check out what options you have. Now, if you're a small business and you don't have any big phone system, that's okay too, because just with your traditional phone service, there's actually options for you to do call forwarding. All of Nex-Tech's business service phone plans actually include manual call forwarding. Simply dial star and 72 on your phone, type in the number that you wanted to forward to, and voila, you have it on your cell phone, so you don't miss any calls. Again, we have some instructions on our website, and we can share the link to make sure that you get to that. Now, if you don't want to do just the call forwarding, if you want to actually connect multiple people, there's also conference bridges available. Again, just contact us. We can set that up for you. Most of the providers just charge per minute of every incoming call, and you can use that as a great temporary solution to get you to through the current crisis and get your people connected. All you need to do is just activate it, get a participant and moderator ID going, and you're good to go. So that covers your phone. Now let's talk about your employees and their productivity apps and their applications they use every day, such as Office. Again, if you jumped on the bandwagon early and already transitioned to Office 365, you're in good shape. That means that actually you already have all of your Office applications available via the web browser as the web versions. If you were not aware of that, you need to go check that out, because all of your employees should be able to access all of their Office applications from any device via a web browser. So some of the other things that Office 365 includes is Teams. That's been a really big deal right now. And Microsoft has actually announced in the wake of this crisis that they will be offering Teams for free for those who have not signed up for Office 365 yet. So why is Teams so cool? Teams has a lot of different features, but the one that's probably most prominent right now is the chat function and also the video conferencing. On the free version, Teams will allow you to do ad hoc video calls with your employees and even with people outside of your organization. The other person on the other side does not actually have to have Teams. They can join via a web browser. If you want to do scheduled meetings and have some enhanced capabilities, you will need to have a paid Office account. And again, it's not too late to sign up for Office 365. The install can be done mostly remotely, and so you can still get that going. And realistically, that's really the way that Office is going in general, so that might be a good business decision regardless. Also, make sure you talk with your employees about how they store their files, because every Office 365 account also gives you enough storage on OneDrive. So make sure you talk with your employees. Are they saving their files locally, or are they saving them to OneDrive? Once you start getting them into the habit of saving files to OneDrive, that means, again, that they can actually access all of those files remotely via the web browser, and they're not going to be tethered to their desktops at their desks if they cannot come into the office. So that kind of covers most of the Office applications and kind of the desktop applications. Now let's talk a little bit about if you want to or need to access your network, or if you have employees that need to access your network. That can be the case if you have applications like accounting software or maybe inventory software that they need to access. And let's talk about how we can do that securely. There's a couple different ways. If you work with an IT provider that maybe does automated antivirus and patching for you, chances are that they might have some tools to help you with remote logins for your desktops. So all of our Nex-Tech PC security customers actually have a tool that we can make available to them called Log Me In. What that is basically allowing people to use their personal device at home to log into their desktop at work, and it's as if they're sitting in front of their desktop and have access to the applications installed on there. Again, you might have to consider for some organizations about policies, about accessing them remotely, etc. And there's a couple of caveats to that. So the good thing is you don't need a separate SSL VPN connection because Log Me In is already encrypted. But there's a couple other things you need to be aware of. Bandwidth and internet connection are key, just like with every other cloud application or remote application. It requires multi-factor authentication, but we can help you set that up. You will also need to make sure that your employees actually leave their computer on at work so that you can actually log into that workstation. And then the last thing is, if you're a Nex-Tech customer and you're calling us to get that set up, we definitely need to have you go through our help desk and get that set up for every single user. It's not something that's automatically provisioned. So some other options besides Log Me In are remote desktop. So remote desktop is a really good option if you already have an RDP environment set up within your organization. What we can do is actually pretty easily increase the capacity, sometimes pretty dramatically, depending on what your configurations are. A lot of times you just need to add some licenses and some virtual resources and really increase your capacity for your remote users to use your remote desktop to log in to your network. We do run into limitations when it comes to hardware. Once you need to beef up your hardware, that can be pretty tricky right now, as hardware is starting to get pretty hard to come by. So the other options, if you don't have an RDP environment already set up, would be a VPN connection. So most of you have kind of heard of VPN. What that is basically an encrypted connection that gets your secure connection into your network. That's a good option if you have employees that can take their laptops home and want to access their network at work. So again, a couple of caveats that you need to be aware of if you want to go that route. Same thing as with everything else, internet and bandwidth are really key, and you really need to make sure that you have a very stable connection with very little latency. Again, your internet provider can help provide some of that information. Also be aware that you need to have a VPN enabled on your firewall at your business location. So you're probably going to need to get some VPN licenses purchased and applied and do some configuration changes. Again, contact your IT provider for that. We can definitely help with that. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that every firewall has some limitations on how many remote users it allows in. So again, talk to your IT provider, make sure you have that all figured out, and you can plan ahead and get that ready. Those are kind of the most prominent and important ways to get your users to work remotely. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about security. In times of panic and stress and anxiety, a lot of times we think about the next action item we can do. In all of that, make sure you don't compromise security for convenience. All these cloud applications are fantastic because they're very inconvenient and they make things very flexible, but the same security measures apply as if your employees are at the office. Make sure you talk with your IT provider through different strategies to make sure they stay safe. One of the biggest thing, and that's pretty easy to implement, is multi-factor authentication. And make sure all of your users use MFA and you protect your core infrastructure and your main applications via MFA. And the other things, there's a couple other things to look at, but really a lot of the other things is just educating your employees. Make sure that they stay vigilant, make sure that they stay alert and pay attention, and let your IT provider know if there's anything suspicious. So finally, after we talked all about the technology, I want to highlight one last, but really almost the most important thing when it comes to working remotely, and that's your employees. Working remotely adds to the stress of social isolation that a lot of us are already experiencing. So again, make sure you check up on that. Check on your employees, have them get in touch often, sometimes also just to chat. You can use chat options also just for fun sometimes and not always just pragmatic things. That helps keeping the culture in the team. Make sure they take breaks when they're working from home. Everybody have some patience and some grace with each other because it's new to absolutely everybody. And then make sure you use your regular health checks that you usually do with all of your teams. So those are some tips to hopefully help you transition your workforce to work remotely and be ready for all the things coming in the next couple of weeks.